Are you doing better or worse than everyone else with money? Most people don't really know. And the truth is, some of these numbers will shock you. You lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if your savings are enough compared to everyone else. You scroll through social media and see vacations, new cars, and smiling faces, and you ask yourself how they can afford it. What we think is normal about money is often an illusion because we see highlights but not reality. When the curtain is pulled back, the truth is eye-opening and often alarming. That's exactly what we're about to do in this video. We will break down the real financial statistics of the average American. Income, savings, debt, retirement, and spending habits. Not the dream version, not the Instagram highlight reel, but the real numbers millions of people live with every single day. Understanding these numbers isn't just curiosity, it's power, because it shows you where you stand and what to do differently if you don't want to end up average. Think about it like training for a race. If you want to get faster, you need to know the average mile time. And if you want to get stronger, you need to know what others are lifting. Money works the same way. When you learn the benchmarks, you can decide if you'll accept normal or build something better. So let's start with the foundation of every financial journey: income. Because before you can save, invest, or retire, you need to know the truth about the average paycheck. And those numbers may surprise you. So let's start with income, the foundation of every financial story. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median weekly earnings for a full-time worker are just over $1,000. That adds up to about $52,000 per year before taxes. Now remember, this is individual income, not household income, and median means half of workers earn more and half earn less. If you're making around $26 an hour, you're right there with a typical American worker. But here's where things start to look different. That $52,000 figure is before Uncle Sam takes his cut. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare, the number shrinks quickly. Depending on where you live, you might actually take home only $35,000 to $40,000 a year. Suddenly, that doesn't seem like much, especially when you realize that $40,000 has to cover housing, food, transportation, healthcare, and everything else. This is why income is just one piece of the puzzle and not the most important one. What really matters is what people actually do with the money once it arrives in their bank account. And that's where the picture becomes both fascinating and concerning. Now let's talk about retirement savings, because this is where the numbers get truly alarming. According to the Federal Reserve, the median amount Americans have saved for retirement is only $65,000. And remember, that number includes everyone who has a retirement account at all. Here's the kicker. About 1 in 4 Americans has $0 saved for retirement. Nothing. That means millions of people are planning to rely entirely on Social Security when they stop working. And that's assuming the program is still fully funded by the time they retire. For those who do have savings, the numbers vary a lot by age. People under 25 have less than $2,000 saved, which isn't surprising when you're just starting out. The 25 to 34 age group does a little better, with around $14,000. But even that looks small when you think about years of work already behind them. By the time people reach 65 and older, the median balance climbs to $88,000. That might sound like a decent cushion, but let's put it into perspective. With the classic 4% withdrawal rule, $88,000 would give you just $3,500 a year. That's less than $300 a month to live on in retirement. Could you survive on $300 a month? Even without a mortgage, that amount barely covers groceries, utilities, and healthcare. This is why the average numbers should be a wake-up call. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, you need to ask yourself if you're saving enough, because clearly the average person is not. Since so many people plan to rely on Social Security, let's look at what it really provides. According to the Social Security Administration, the average monthly benefit is around $1,550. That's about $18,600 per year. At first, $18,000 might sound workable, especially if you don't have a mortgage. But remember, this is the average. If you had years with little or no income, your benefit will be much lower. And if you always earned modest wages, your monthly check may barely keep the lights on. Some people take the opposite approach and assume they won't receive a dime from Social Security. They treat any payment they do get as a bonus, not as their main plan. That may sound overly cautious, but it's probably the smarter way to think about it. Because the truth is, the long-term funding of Social Security is uncertain. And if your retirement depends only on that monthly check, you could be in for a harsh reality. Now let's shift to spending, because this affects your life every single day. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average household spends about $5,577 per month. That's roughly $67,000 per year. Think about what this means. To break even, the average family must take home at least $67,000 after taxes. And if they want to save or invest, they need to earn even more. The biggest expense is housing, at around $1,885 per month. That includes rent or mortgage, property taxes, insurance, utilities, and maintenance. For many big cities, that number feels unrealistically low. In New York or San Francisco, $1,800 might barely cover a small apartment. The second biggest expense is food, at about $691 per month. That's more than $8,000 per year just to stay fed. Transportation comes next, averaging $913 per month. That covers car payments, insurance, gas, maintenance, and public transit. Together, housing and transportation alone eat up nearly $2,700 per month. That's before groceries, healthcare, education, or anything fun. This is why many financial experts say your housing and transportation combined should not exceed 50% of your income. But for millions of households, those two categories already consume most of what they earn. Now, let's talk about credit, because it can either open doors or lock them shut. The average FICO score in America is 715. That falls into the good credit category, which means many people are at least doing some things right. They pay bills on time. They keep debt levels somewhat under control, but averages can be misleading. Plenty of people walk around with scores in the 500s or 600s, and they wonder why they can't qualify for decent loans or interest rates. Your credit score doesn't just affect your mortgage or car loan. It can also affect job opportunities because some employers check credit before hiring. The good news is that maintaining a solid score isn't complicated. Pay your bills on time. Keep credit card balances low. Don't open new accounts every time a store offers you 10% off. But here's the darker side of the story. The average household carries more than $9,000 in credit card debt. And this is not debt tied to assets like a house or a car. It's money spent on things that often lose value the moment you buy them. Clothes, electronics, dinners out, impulse purchases that seemed harmless at the time. The real problem is interest. Credit card rates often run 15%, 20%, even 25% or higher. At 20% interest on $9,000, you're paying $1,800 every year just in interest. That's money going straight into the bank's pocket instead of building your wealth. And here's the painful truth. There's no point earning 7% in the stock market if you're paying 20% on credit cards. That math will never work in your favor. Now, let's look at net worth, the single number that shows your overall financial health. Net worth is simple. It's what you own minus what you owe. House, cars, bank accounts, investments, minus mortgages, loans, and debts. According to the Federal Reserve, the median household net worth in America is about $122,000. But this number changes a lot with age. If you're under 35, the median net worth is less than $14,000. At that stage, many people are just starting out, paying off student loans or building a first career. By ages 35 to 44, the median rises to $91,000. From 45 to 54, it reaches $168,000. People between 55 and 64 hit around $212,000. And for ages 65 to 74, the median climbs to $266,000. On the surface, these numbers might look encouraging. They show that wealth can grow steadily with time and discipline. But here's the reality check. These are lifetime numbers after decades of work. And even $266,000 is not enough for a secure retirement in most of America. What they really reveal is that most people spend a lifetime working, yet end up with very little margin. The good news is that beating these averages doesn't take genius or luck. It just takes consistent habits, discipline, and time. Now, let's talk about savings, because this number explains why so many people fall behind. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, Americans save about 6% of their income after taxes. Just 6%. At first, that might not sound terrible, but let's think about what it really means. If you're saving 6%, a big chunk of that will go to short-term goals like a car or a down payment on a house. That leaves very little left for retirement or long-term wealth building. Consider this. The average down payment on a home is $62,000. The average kitchen renovation costs $26,000. A new car averages more than $47,000. At a 6% savings rate, it takes years just to cover these expenses, let alone invest for the future. Most financial experts recommend saving 10 to 15% of income for retirement alone, and that's on top of what you save for other goals. If you want to retire early or even just retire comfortably, you may need to save even more. The bottom line is clear. Saving 6% keeps you stuck in the same cycle as everyone else. If you want to be above average, your savings rate must also be above average. When do most people actually stop working? You might guess 65, but the reality is different. Recent data shows the average retirement age in America is 61. At first, that might sound good. Who wouldn't want to retire a few years early? But here's the catch. Most people can't collect full Social Security benefits until age 67. That leaves a gap of 6 years that has to be covered somehow. And if your retirement savings look anything like the median numbers we saw earlier, that gap is a serious problem. Think about it. If you retire at 61 with only $88,000 saved, you're living on less than $300 a month from your retirement accounts. That's not a comfortable retirement. That's survival. Now, consider life expectancy. Someone who reaches 65 today can expect to live another 19 to 21 years. That means you may spend 25 years or more in retirement. And the question becomes, how many of those years will you actually enjoy in good health? At 61, you may still feel strong, but at 71 or 81, your lifestyle and health costs can change dramatically. This is why the average approach to money doesn't work, because the typical person spends nearly 40 years working, only to retire with just enough to scrape by. These statistics reveal something powerful. The average approach to money simply doesn't work. When the typical American has less than $90,000 saved for retirement and carries $9,000 in credit card debt, the system is broken. But here's the good news. Doing better than average is not impossible. In fact, the bar is set very low. If you save more than 6% of your income, you're already ahead of most people. If you avoid credit card debt, you're way ahead of the game. If you invest consistently in retirement accounts, you're beating the majority. And over time, the gap becomes massive. Imagine this. The average household spends $5,500 a month. If you figure out how to live comfortably on $4,500, you free up $12,000 a year. Do that for decades, and you'll be in a completely different league. Wealth doesn't require genius. It requires small decisions repeated consistently. Earn a little more. Spend a little less. Save at a higher rate. Invest with discipline. Each step pushes you further away from average and closer to the financial freedom most people only dream about. So here's the real choice. Do you want to be average, or do you want to be better than average? Average means working for 40 years and retiring with barely enough to survive. Better than average means building systems, saving more, and letting your money work for you. Most people never even take the time to understand where they stand. But you're already ahead because you're learning. And once you see the numbers, you can't unsee them. They can either scare you into giving up or push you into action. Every dollar you save is a worker that never gets tired. Every habit you build is a system that compounds over time. And every smart decision moves you one step further from average. The truth is, the future belongs to those who prepare. So start today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Start now. Because the earlier you act, the easier the path becomes. If this video helped you, like and subscribe for more stories that reveal how money really works. And remember this, every dollar you save today is a silent worker that never clocks out. And if you want to go deeper, don't stop here. Click on one of the videos on your screen right now. Each one will take you further into the strategies, history, and mindset shifts that can change the way you build wealth forever.